Welcome to the Big Roofs Podcast, the podcast where we talk to successful roofing contractors and industry leaders about how you can build a bigger, better, and more profitable roofing business. We're your hosts, John and AJ, and today's guest is Brian Finley, owner of Roof Concepts and Construction. Thanks for joining us today, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said successful in the beginning. I don't know about successful, but trying to make it happen may be a better word.
I mean, from what you told me, it sounds like you're well on your way. So without out there in Houston, sounds like it's been crazy lately.
It has been very crazy.
Yeah. So you had that storm in May. And we're talking about the same storm, right? Storm knocked out all the windows downtown and all that, right?
No, there was the hurricane, but I've been so busy that I forget which date. What day
Which
was the hurricane on? I don't even remember. It
it's
was
good.
obviously it was last month, but I think it was I honestly
Oh,
I
it was in
remember.
July.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Oh,
was
I'm
a
thinking of a different
hurricane.
storm then. I didn't
Yeah,
know
no,
about that.
it was a hurricane and it caused a lot of problems, but more repair issues than anything.
Hmm. Oh, really? So
Yeah.
are you not seeing enough damage to do a lot of replacements?
I mean, we're doing replacements, but for the most part, I mean, so even on you got new construction homes that there was, certain sections of shingles blown off and the roof is fine. It's just the sections of the shingles, right? And so there was a lot of repair issues. And it fell into the category of our maintenance packages that we kind of already, outlined anyway. And
Thought
so
you do maintenance packages? Is it like a recurring thing?
yeah, well, it's not a recurring. We have some standard maintenance packages that covers, up to 5 shingles or a pipe jack. And then, we'll pull all the nails out of the flashings, put screws with EPDM washers, and then we'll reseal everything. And so a lot of those were falling, and then we'll have we have one that's got a gutter cleaning on it as well. But we did have to step up the cost a little bit. Like we'll do an extra for each additional pipe jack. It's $100,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we kind of fell into the lines of those. And so sometimes the Americans only think about the what can be done now and don't think about the value added portion of it. Right. And so of course you get y'all are, price gouging or whatever, but it's only $6.99 to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
and then we have one for $8.99 and then $9.99. It's pretty standard.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a good way to do it. John, you do something similar, right? With the
Yeah, yeah. It's always a challenge. The price gouging comments of like, hey guys, we have to charge like our loan number is $4.95, and that's like pulling teeth sometime. Like what?
But
And we're like, hey, this is, and then we charge more because we have to have an extra guy to come help with this 12 3-story house. Sorry, we're gonna charge more. It's very interesting how, I remember when I first started 15 years ago selling for another company. I was the repair salesman, and then we were selling for like 197 all day long, like 197, and we'd pay a guy $75 to come out, and I'd hold his ladder and I'd climb on the roof, and we do. And now it's really expensive to have a home service. It's expensive to run the business. It's expensive for the homeowners as well. So I get it, but that's what it costs now.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's the factors and the value add. If it's presented right and the initial right where it makes sense. And so, but I mean, even in my neighborhood, right, I saw some stuff on the neighborhood page that if somebody in the neighborhood was charging yeah a certain amount, but we got it done for or $350 or whatever. And so, well, where are those guys at when you need them because something's going to happen or whatever. And some of the stuff, the repairs that they've been seeing, geez,
Yep.
it's not good, right? And so, and you can talk that all day long, but at the end of the day, yeah, your customer is your customer, right? If you want the ones that are going to understand the value add to it and understand that you're actually long term, you're doing them, right by doing it the correct way.
Yep. I aside from technical difficulties being late to record, I was just on the phone with an anesthesiologist, has a waterfront property, a very well-known roofing company that's been in business forever in Savannah, did a terrible repair. And he had, I mean, we're talking about not just rotten, we're talking about deteriorating wood. I'm like, it's just so unfortunate. There's very few people that are going to take the time to find the leak and to repair it correctly. And it's just like, it should cost what it costs. One of my builder friends that I've actually worked with quite a bit does custom homes. He's like, it costs what it costs. Like that's what, and it's a, funny way to say, because we provide the service, but good things cost money. And it's good for roofers to hear this, but it's also good for homeowners to understand there's some things that you just can't describe. You can't understand the years of experience or the care that your staff really has versus the care of, Chuck and a Chuck or whoever else.
Well, you've got the actual companies themselves talking about accountability within their sales teams and accountability, but on the other side, that homeowner is investing in accountability, right? And so, the problem that we're facing over here with all these repairs is these guys, nobody's used to doing repairs like this, right? And so, I mean, you see it all over the Facebook everywhere. People saying, I need repairs, I need crews. And I've got a buddy, y'all know him, Ricky McGrath. And so he's on ProLine now. And, he's questioning them saying, how are y'all just reaching out wanting, you know what I mean? You don't even know who they are.
Yep.
And so that's the issue, right? When it takes the away from the process and getting people doing the repairs that you don't necessarily know who they are. I mean, early on when I started this thing, I tore my bicep. My wife had some medical issues, and there was a flat roof that I just could not get to, and it had some coating on it, right? And so the whole thing, and get over there, it's a Saturday, and I got a brace on my arm, and the man's calling me and say, "Oh, there's water leaking in my house." And I get over there, and all the silicone had pulled off of there, and there was a hole in it, right? And so I'm over there on a Saturday. It's pouring down. I think 2 years ago, December, it seemed like it rained every day. And so I get there and look into it, and all the decking is rotted. And so I pulled that, I had to end up pulling that with one arm, pulling all that stuff. And I trusted somebody saying that they could do it to do the repair.
Yeah. Yeah. Super important to actually vet and know your guys. That's what you're saying, right? Is like, when you're just hiring someone random off of Facebook, it's like, oh yeah, I can sub for you. So you have no idea if they're going to live up to your standard.
That's right. And so, a while back, I was actually, interviewing some contractors, and, they'll say, well, I've been doing it this way for 20 years. Well, you've been doing it wrong for 20 years.
Yep.
Right. And then he builds a lot of roofs. The guy didn't have any insurance. I'm like, how do you not get checked? Well, they never asked me for insurance. Well, sorry, buddy, go get insurance and we'll talk. But that saying of I've been doing it this way for 20 years is not going to work with me, because, with my short time in this industry, here's things that I know that are going to fail on roofs, and everybody still uses them: nails and flashings and rubber on the pipe boots.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, why are you still doing it?
Absolutely. Yep. So speaking to what you just said, let's dig in on that, because I know you have an interesting background and story. So let's take us back. Where you haven't been in roofing for too long, right? So where were you before roofing? What's the story here? How'd you get to roofing?
I sold, commercial furniture for, it seems like another lifetime ago. But I'd been there I mean, I literally helped this guy build, the company as he was growing. And so, the thing with, we use a lot of CRMs, right? We use a lot of stuff, and we would, when we were over there, we'd have big projects, but we would get lazy and not enter all the line items. And the deal, then a year later, when the customer says, "Hey, I need another piece," we'll be like, "Oh, what did we even do? We need to go over there and check and see what we did," right? And all that type of stuff. But I was there for built a great business, right? I've got buddies that are roofing owners of roofing companies. And several, they always tried to get me to come to work, but I built a good business where I was at. But that January before COVID hit, commercial was down already. And so that, through that summer, I'd had my summer lined out with a bunch of work, but come, August, September and all those months, I'd start looking at the next year. I'm like, man, I haven't been able to get out. I haven't been able to do this. And so, I had pushed my wife into this industry. And so I had a buddy, he's had a company, he sold it, uh, was out of his non-compete, and we just happened to be eating dinner with him on a Saturday night, and we walked outside, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna open another company. I'm gonna start training Monday morning." I'm like, "All right, Jennifer will be there." And so she come out of the office, and I say, "Hey, you're gonna be at Mike's house Monday morning to start training. You're gonna start selling roofs." And of course, she's never been on a roof. She's never, and it wasn't. And I will make sure that people don't understand. I don't tell my wife what to do, right? And so, but she sold over 100 roofs that year.
Wow.
And I kind of said, man, there's something here, right? And of course, when I got it to where, when I ended up leaving, I went to work for the company, but they didn't understand how I was selling, right? They didn't understand. And so I said, well, I'll train some people, but I'm going to take half the deal, right? I'm putting you in the neighborhoods. I'm doing it. I'm giving away my referrals to you so you can get used to it. This is a give me, right? And so, well, that ended up backfiring because there was people jealous. We were building a bunch of roofs every week, and so, and then we kind of, it just didn't get, it was a bunch of talk. We were high fiving everybody, thinking team this, team that. And so, I mean, we literally had to stop for selling for about 2 months because I wanted to close everything out because I didn't want to be that guy that took, deals. And of course, that backfired too. And then long story short, he obviously thought that I was trying to, I'm like, dude, we literally stopped working to close all of our deals out for 2 months. But we've been building our business in the middle of that, right? And so, I don't care who you are in this roofing industry. Everybody's trying to mess them around, And so I just felt like that was the best way to do it. And of course, it backfired, and it ended up blowing up anyway. So we left, and then we got started.
Yeah. Nice. That's not an uncommon story. I mean, it's tough. It's tough when you're working with, and this is your friend, right?
Yep.
That you're working for his company, and the communication is hard. And if someone really wants to see it one way or the other, it can be tough, even
Yeah.
when you're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I had my F-250 before I was a roofer, right? And so I had to make that clear that, I'm also the guy that, we buy a house in November and I go straight commission in January on our first year of marriage. And so
That's
that
fun.
made it a little tough, right? So, but I've always been willing to bet on myself. This industry has provided a lot of things for people that probably shouldn't be business owners. And so, but at the end of the day, it's within this industry, it's one person leaves one company because they felt like they're messing them around, and then they run the same program when they open theirs.
Yeah. So So when did you launch your company? When was that?
2020.
2020? Oh,
Yeah.
so you were working for him in 2019
Yes.
for your friend, and then
Yeah.
in 2020 is when you launched out on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how I love what you just said because that's so common. It's like, you have a falling out with your boss because, he didn't pay you out on the 10-50-50 that you thought, it should have been. And then
Well,
you
no,
go
it was just
same thing.
the fact that I wanted to close those deals out. It wasn't anything in regard to pay. I didn't want to take anything, right? I wanted to close all of our deals out
Yeah.
before we left.
I don't mean you. Sorry, I
Yeah.
was speaking in general.
Oh,
People
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
the industry, you
Yes.
see that cycle where they're like
Yes.
doing the same thing again. Like they get pissed off, but then they do the same thing. They go there
Yes.
and come and do the same thing. So
Yeah.
for you, how are you doing things differently? Because I've heard you talk about this a lot when we've talked about how you're trying to run your business differently than you see other businesses being run. How, what does that mean for you? How are you doing things differently?
Well, I think it's the transparency, right? And I think, it's any other industry you go to, right? And you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take this sales position, but I'm going to take 50% of the profit, and I can't run the full. I don't know how to do everything, right?
Yeah.
They're going to tell you get out of my office.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're crazy. It's not that I don't care about. I'll show anybody my numbers. I'll show that, but at the end of the day, this industry is this Facebook and all these other things have made it's a false, right? You shouldn't. I mean, you should be building your business, attracting people that want, to want to win, to want to get paid well, and and all those things like a regular business, and so I really think that some point when somebody did that, they didn't have a culture, they couldn't hold on to people, right? And so then that was the bright idea. And then, and then that's where that 10 came in, because they figured out that that's not you can't grow like that, right? And so on the other side of it is I've been a sales guy all my life, right? But when I'm building this business, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't dependent on a salesperson, right? To move my stuff through, right? And so, just through this storm, I don't think nobody's, everything in my company has been company generated, right? And so I wanted to make sure that the brand, the name, and we still got a long ways to go, but and it's paying off, right? And so people don't understand that, I've been paying $5,000 to $10,000 a month for 4 years, and finally it's starting to pay off.
In
You know,
marketing,
yeah,
yeah.
and then on the other side of that, going back to, how we do things differently is, when we first started, I wanted to do, I just see the issues on Fridays when people collect their checks, right? And so, one thing that most people when they get in this industry are down and out, right? They're looking for something and get into it, and then surviving to get to your first commission or whatever is tough. And so we're doing a salary plus commission, and it's off of the gross, right? And so, the crazy thing within the industry is they say we're going to have a 10%, office fee or whatever. Well, why is that not off a net? Why is that on gross? You know what I mean? And so that's not fair there. And so when you have payday on Fridays and you have everybody lined up in your office saying, oh, you shorted me, or you did this, or what's going on here, man, I want to take all that away, right? And make it very clear of what they're getting. I also want to, I don't wait until I give half up front when we collect the initial, and then I'll give, once it's closed out, I give the other half on the commission. And then we do the salary, right? And so we'll also, do some gas. And like I said, I don't have the answer to everything, but I know that way this industry is ran, it's not ran fair, and it's not reality, right? The storm industry has caused a lot of chaos within this, and like I said, you go on, the Facebook, and you got these people asking how much they're paying, and you have the ones that, that don't even know how to run the full process. They think that they should get what everybody else is getting, right? And so even on that, we don't run the full process. We, once all they're doing is signing deals, adjust appointments, and inspections. The office takes over after that, because I know it's cleaner, right? All I want them to do, they're salespeople. I want them to just do deals.
No. You've mentioned that to me before. Is the inside sales model. You're really big on the inside sales model. Do you want to talk about that? I mean, you kind of did just a little bit with that kind of handoff back to the office, but why is it that specifically that you believe strongly in the inside sales model?
Well, I think it's first the customer experience, right? And so the customer's experience is what, it's what should be focused on at all times. And so if I can, control that, and I say control that in a good way for the customer experience, then there's transparency, then there's nobody's wondering what's going on, nobody's, all these things, and through, the automations and through all that stuff, there needs to be automations, but there also needs to be a voice on the other end of that line saying, hey, I'm here for you. You got questions, the guys are out, out all day long, and they may not get your email. They may not get your text. They may not get your call. I'm here for you, right? I want to make sure that when we walk through this process, you completely understand everything that we're doing, and it's, transparent, right? And so, and I think as long as we walk and it's from the inside person to the person putting them on the build schedule to the production and throughout it, right? And so at the end of the day, when I look at that review that I expect to get when I finish your project, it's going to have that outline on. Oh my God, Austin came out here, he got him, such a great guy, he signed me up, walked me through the process. Next thing you know, Carrie's calling me and introducing herself and saying, I'm here for you. We want to make sure that you're taken care of. And then Jennifer came and put me on the build sketch, and throughout there, and right throughout that process, that's how I want my reviews read, and so, we're pretty proud of our reviews, and, and so that's the other side, and it's the letting go of some of the responsibilities to let people grow and feel more part of the team and feel like they've accomplished, they're accomplishing something too, right? And so, I learned to, everything that I've ever done, work wise or, career wise, I was always a big part of what went on within the company, right? But also look back and think that there was a lot of times where I was almost fired from some of those positions before they you know what I mean? And so I've seen a lot of that stuff, and so I want people to be part of something because everybody deserves to have input, right? Everybody deserves to be part of the win, right? And so if we can create those things along the way to where everybody feels like they're part of it and they've done something, and when they do get that review, that it's outlined, the great work has been outlined, right?
Yeah, I really like that focus on bring everybody in. And it's super true. Sometimes there's a sort of objection with ProLine and how much automation we have. It's like, oh, I don't want to automate any of that. I believe in having, personalized communication. And what I love about what you just said is you're perfectly kind of demonstrating the balance of both. There's a place for automation, and that's the things that are the repetitive communication, the text, the emails, but that doesn't replace the need to have human beings on the other end of the line.
Right. And I think the disconnect there is let's replace that communication with the word education, right? And use it as an educational tool, and to be able to provide that, that experience for somebody that's, I mean, let's face it, even 7 years ago, the Joneses down the road got getting their roof done, and everybody in the neighborhood was, hey, the Joneses are getting their roof done. Let's go look at it, right? And now it's so common, but it's that Uber experience that people are wanting now, because not everybody's gone through it, but everybody's pretty getting educated on the process.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And from what you're saying, it seems to be paying off. Like that model seems to be paying off well for you. I mean,
It's still a work in progress, right? And so there's, and so, my goal right now is, and so I'm pretty hardened to a lot of things. Man, I've grown as a person throughout this journey, right? Per se. And it's, man, I knew I was pretty tough. I've always been pretty tough. But this will make you a tough person, right? And so, because when we started out, some people, we did a roof, and one of the landscaping rocks went into the pool at a homeowner's house, and he called. I told him I was going to come over there and do the final inspection or whatnot. And he said, hey, they dropped a landscaping rock in my pool. Well, don't worry about it. It's middle of February. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna heat the pull up, and I'll get it out when I can get it heated up. And I just left it at that. So I went. His wife was looking through the window. I said, hey, do me a favor. My wife was standing there, and they never know what's gonna come out of my mouth. And so I told him, I said, I forget his name, but I said, hey, do me a favor, go in there and grab me a towel. Tell your wife to quit looking through the window and go in there and grab me a towel. And they both looked at me like, what are you talking about? And I said, because I'm going to get in there and get that rock out of the pool. And again, it's middle of February. And I said, I'm going to strip down and I'm going to go get the rock out of there. He went and got the towel, went in there and got it. And of course, I thought it was only like 3 foot, and it was a 6 foot. So I had to go all the way under. So I get out, and he goes, man, why did you do that? And I said, because sooner or later, you're going to walk past that rock and it's going to piss you off. And so I'm just going to get in there and get it now. And that's what we base our business off of, right? And so that's just who we are. My reviews reflect that. And I've worked my ass off to get those reviews. And the reviews ain't, between Google and the homeowner, it's hard to get. They keep removing reviews. I got to
Yep.
go,
Yep.
you know what I mean? And I'm like, quit. We should be well over 115 now, and we keep dropping back down to 98.
Yep.
And so people don't, the things that a business owner does to keep moving their business through all the adversity, through all the stress, through all the anxiety, all those things that you face, and for one to be able to keep moving forward and be getting these things in place is a huge accomplishment, you know. And my wife, there was things that I do all the time that people don't even realize that I do. You get it. You get it, John. I'm always checking my reviews to make sure they didn't disappear. I'm always, all these things that, within the industry that I keep wanting to stay, one step ahead to provide that extra value, right? And so it's tough. It's tough, and people will believe the negatives before they believe the positives, right? And so we're in a neighborhood after one storm, and I'm out there, and I haven't even knocked doors in forever. And so I'm like, I'm always the guy that's, hey, let's not get it twisted. I'll get out there, right? I got 5 deals, nobody else got any. And so but there was a lady, when I knocked on her door, you got to have a permit for this neighborhood. And I knocked on the door, and she come running out. Oh, you got to have a permit. You got to have all this. I said, I get it. We have it. One of us has a permit, but I'm right next door. I saw your roof, and I wanted to speak to you about it. Other than that, I just 3 at 5 of them. Other than that, I'm just here to talk. So we started talking, right? And so we got on the roof and looked, and she said, my brother's a roofer. He's got a such over here. And I said, no problem. I want you to do this. And I sent her our About Us package, right? So of course she calls and says, well, I want you to do my roof. I don't want my brother to do the roof. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's go over there and sit down. So I go to sit down with her, and she's holding her, her scope of work, close. And she's wanting a cash deal. And so somebody had got over there and said, hey, we'll do a check swap and do this. And I said, well, here's where I'm at. I'm not going to do that. And I said, so they did mention that you have to detach and reset your gutters in order to properly remove the drip edge. You have to do, all these things. And she was like, well, he was saying that it's too long of a run to pull them off like that. So it's not good. You'd have to have 10 people out here. I said, well, ma'am, I do it like this every day. And so we ended up walking out of there. She ended up going. But the funny thing, as I walked off, and I said, you're a real stickler in the neighborhood for the permit, but you're not a stickler for breaking the law, right? And so how funny is that,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy out there,
You Texas roofers, you got it hard. You got it. It's a whole different world. It's like Florida is a whole different world. Texas is a whole different world. You guys have a number of challenges.
That's right. And so the deal is the way, what I tell everybody is the way we've been building this thing, and trust me, it took a lot of pulling hair and a lot of everything for people to understand what I'm trying to accomplish within. Even my wife, even all this stuff. She just think, you don't like anything that I do. You're always, saying it's not right. You're always this. And now just with the About Us package, they understand now what I was trying to do. And it wasn't, I just wanted it a certain way because I come from a place to where you got to look at everything as if you got somebody that's going to pass along your information, right? A gatekeeper, right? If we're not building it to where that is so crystal clear and so there to where they could pass it along, then we're not doing it right.
Yep.
And I keep telling people, I don't care if I'm first or I don't care if I'm last. I just want to be invited to the party. If I'm first, I'm setting the standard, and if I'm last, they're like, "Whoa," you know what I mean? A guy came in earlier today. He's got he was calling and asking questions, and he got a full roof replacement, $52,000, and so he wanted a quote. So I gave him a quote, and he came in, and I said, "Well, why didn't you go with the people that tarped your roof?" And he said, "Well, because when they sent me their quote, there was no line items on it. It just had a price on it. Right. And you had all this value added into it. And that's my home. I don't want it done correctly. And so he ended up, instead of we were going to do a cash deal with him. And so he came to the office, which is our house, sat at the kitchen table with us. And then he's going to go the insurance route. $14,000 deductible, and so he was trying to save some money, which I don't blame him. It's getting crazy, right? And so, but that's just and that's what those things keep popping up, and that's why I keep saying I don't care if I'm first or last. I just want to be invited to the party, right? And so, I mean, some of these guys are still writing retail deals on contingency agreements. And so when we first got started, we signed up, we got Job Nimbus, and Sumo Quote, right? And so, and now my wife's a Canva wizard. And so, but she just thought I just didn't like anything that, a big debate at Christmas. She was designing this Christmas design. And I said, Jennifer, it's not about the trees on the balls on the tree. It's about the message. So put a Christmas thing in the corner of this page and make sure our message is crystal clear. Yeah. And so now she understands or now she's understanding. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just know, I know what we need to do. Right. And so, But and that goes back from my history being, selling, anything that I did, I managed 24-hour fitnesses for a few years, and that was some of the best sales training I ever had. Right. And so every time somebody comes in, it's a different personality, and so you got it big or small, they're going to leave with training, right? Because you're providing a solution. You know what I mean? You're providing those things, you could be the best work, or you could be the most in shape person, and but you're still not doing everything correctly.
Yep.
You know.
You got you have all those pages. I love that focus on like the education, providing all of that. I think that just like speaks to the power of having really built out quotes and a powerful quoting tool. You have all that built out in ProLine now, right?
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
You
I
have all
think
those pages and
we're fixing to make a change though. I think we're going to move to Engage, because now people are starting to use Sumo Quote, and I don't want to be the same.
yeah.
Engage is the next step. And so, like I said, we started with Sumo Quote, and so we've been building Sumo Quote for this we started, right? And so, because I understood that we needed that aspect of it, but it's time to move on.
What is Engage?
It's the same. It's a more of a interactive type visual. I mean, it's got statistics in it. It's got all the manufacturers in it. It's a presentation, right? Yeah, and so
Presentation tool.
yeah. John, did you use Engage at one point?
I did not. I was jobbed into Sumo Quote, and I just last year switched everything. I was really excited because it's all in one place in ProLine. So that's and we have spent a good bit of time, effort, energy, and money on our ProLine proposal now. So our ProLine, it's the best proposal I've ever had. And I know there are definitely a lot of other softwares out there that do great presentations.
Yeah, and I mean, there's statistics on there. There's, I mean, a lot of stuff that can be built in that for the value add, and it's the next step, right? And so, like I said, a lot of people starting to catch on to Sumo Quote and doing all that stuff, and I just don't want to have the same presentation.
So yeah, so you're using, just so I understand, so you're using Engage to do like an in-home presentation?
Correct.
Yeah, and then but you still have to quote, right? You still have to
Yeah, we still have to quote, and then so I don't know if I'd seen these things, a monitor, right? Because on the iPad, when you're presenting in the house, it's hard to present from it and get both parties, or the husband and wife, to be able to see it as well. And so I bought off of Amazon a freaking screen. And so now my wife does the closing. Now she puts that screen in front of them, and she has access to our iPad, and it scrolls through.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's caught on to that yet, so don't tell anybody. It's just that something better for them to see, right?
You're not like turning things around. They feel like they're part of it. Definitely. I mean,
correct.
That's exactly, we give the ProLine proposal to the homeowner to let them hold it. But I like your idea. It's good because then you can help guide them through that process, and they can still see it.
That's right. And it just scrolls through there, like she could be talking and have her iPad up to where she's seeing it too, right? And then it's that screen is set right in front of them, and they can sit there and go through it. And it's just it's more impressive, right? It's another step through that, because it's just too hard presenting from an iPad.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see how you guys build that out, because we have spent thousands and thousands of dollars customizing our ProLine proposal. And we have a lot of graphs and things like that already in it, that we've added a lot of custom pages. So I think everyone would find value out of things like that. Just just making the customer experience much better. You have a great attention to detail as far as like how the customer is educated and how the customer feels trusting you with this 52,000, however
right.
big. It's their home, and
Yeah.
we need to show that customer, hey, these are the ways that we care. And we're not just saying things because they don't even hear you anyway. They don't hear 85% of what you're saying.
That's
So
right.
if you're showing them these are the things and you're giving them value by giving them images or giving them a good presentation, I love that, because there's not a lot of people that, in fact, most roofers or most roofing company owners, they think it's not valuable. And they're just like, nah, it doesn't matter. The details don't matter. And I'm not a detailed oriented person at all. But what I do know, I was teaching my kids this other day. We're talking about details in school and how that actually helps me. So like, how do you sell roofs, Dad? And I was like, the details. The details are what matter. Because you're showing people that you care. And the way you do that is by talking to an anesthesiologist or talking to a stay-at-home mom. All those details matter to whoever you're talking to. And I love that, because it's one thing that we really do try to do every day in my roofing business and ProLine in general. Like we're trying to listen to contractors so that those details get communicated to, because I always think about our contractors' customers. That's what I think about. I think about that because I have to sell. I have to sell to the homeowners, and my team has to sell to the homeowners. So how can I make it easy for not just me, but my sales guys and inside sales to make their job better and make that customer happier?
Yeah. And so there's something that I've learned over the years, right? Is if everybody's saying the same thing, then it's true, right? If your process is staying, and then people get better at that process, everybody's different, right? But if we're sticking to that process, then the message from the initial visit to the call and introducing herself, and all going back to where you get on that phone and say, hey, this is Carrie, or this is Brian with RCC. Have you got your check yet? Right? And they're like, who the hell is this? You know what I mean? And so those are the things that we're trying to do to where they understand the process and the communication aspect of it. And it's not, when we first started this, still trying to get a supplement was like a fight. You know what I mean? And now we don't have any problems because we set the expectations and we do all that stuff on the, what I mean, throughout the whole process.
Yep.
So, just like the guy that wanted to save, money on his insurance, on his $14,000 deductible, right? He ended up switching. And by the time he left here, he goes, I will make sure, if y'all have any supplements or whatever, to get that to you. And that's what I want them saying, right?
Yep.
And so, but still within this industry, the amount of people that don't explain that supplement well, it's a struggle, right? It's a struggle. You're stealing from us. You're overcharging my insurance company. You're this, you're that, right? And so let's be transparent in the beginning, because it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be a secret, right? And it shouldn't be waited until they get the supplement check to tell them, oh yeah, that's the supplement,
Yep.
Yep. Yep. Makes sense. The transparency, the education is key.
That's right. That's right. And so if you provide that, as soon as somebody comes, whether it's website, whether it's whatever it is, as soon as they're entered into ProLine, they automatically get an About Us package.
Yeah.
Right? It's automatically sent to them. And when, even on the roofle, right? Somebody says it there. And the crazy thing is, man, I was so like, oh, I got to call them right away. I got to call them. Now I'll let it sit there for 2 or 3 days with ProLine running and let them call me.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they saw the About Us package, because they saw that stuff. And then, How many times if you called somebody just because they went on your website, doesn't mean they were ready for you to call them,
Yeah.
right? And
That's the
if they
perfect
had,
use case
yeah,
there for automation.
yeah, for sure, right? And so that's something that, we work on. And me as a thinking I got to answer my phone every time, which we do, right? But on stuff like that, the Google LSAs, you got to answer your phone, right? But all the other ones, I'm finding that letting them sit there for 2 or 3 days of communication, what we've sent to them already, they're going to call me, and they appreciate that, right? Nobody wants to walk into the furniture store and right there they're standing there waiting on you, right? That type of deal, right? And then I hate this word, or I hate this phrase, sales breath, but in reality, it's kind of the same,
So
you
you
know.
let ProLine kind of nurture them,
That's
warm
right.
them,
That's right.
and you're
And
about to launch.
I've let it go 4 or 5 days, and then all of a sudden they just answer with the deal. We'll call them and get it and set up, right?
Something you might like that's it's gonna be a big feature, I think, for our speed lead is we're about to launch internal booking pages.
Okay.
So it will be possible to have it set up where if you wanted this in those messages coming from the speed lead, it's sending them the about us package, and then you can have in those emails and in those texts a link they can click on to then go immediately schedule an inspection. So
I like it.
you may get to the point you don't even have to talk to them at all. They may
I
just
like
end
it.
up on your schedule.
Yeah. No, I like it. And so when you start a company, you hire bodies in hopes that they're gonna invest in themselves, meaning all it is time, right? And want to be the best at that deal. But you find that a lot of people don't want to spend their own time on investing in themselves, right? And so you go through a bunch of people, and we had just lost a girl that was in the office, and she was there for 6 months. Man, she worked part-time, but she came in at 9 and left at 2, and that's all she cared about. She sure liked them free lunches, though, you know what I mean? And so, but now we've hired somebody else that spend a little bit more money on, and and man, now I'm not even having to tell her to do things. I mean, she's actually getting set through this storm. Thank God that we had her, because she was actually Googling the maps and setting everybody up to
There you go.
and so it's stuff like that man, I want to pay people, but I want you to also be part of the winning culture, right? Or want to do better for everything, you know.
Yep.
Makes sense. Well, let's wrap things up. We usually will end with just a fun question, just to kind of tie things up. What's the we'll switch it up a little bit. We'll just say, what are you looking forward to the most this in August? What are you looking forward to the most this month?
I'm I'm in the middle of building out our new office.
Nice.
And so I'm excited about that. I still don't know how much it's going to cost me to do the build out, because you had to do it anyway, and I knew that I needed the reactor. I wasn't going to have any of my guys be able to do that, right? And so I've been able to get them over there. I've got they just texted yesterday. Um, they were painting tomorrow, and I've got the IT people over there, and like I said, when y'all see the screens on the TVs with all the metrics and everything on them, you're gonna be like, yes.
Yeah, all
And
the
so
ProLine
we're
reporting
gonna, yeah,
pages. Yeah.
that's right, that's right. We're gonna have them on the wall, and it's gonna be visible. I gutted the whole place. I knocked walls out, and so everybody's like, well, where's your office gonna be? Right here in the middle of the floor.
Just right,
Love it.
right in the center.
I
There you go.
didn't I didn't do an office for myself, right? And so, but as a young guy, I was thinking, man, if I own a business, I'm gonna have this badass office, all this stuff. I put myself in the floor.
There you go. That's
Nice.
that. Yeah, lead from the
Nice.
front. Lead from the
Yeah,
front.
that's right. I learned early on that you gotta be, and you gotta get out there, right? You gotta get out there. You can't be scared to get your hands dirty. And so I just, I'm very good at what I do, and I'm going to say that, right? I'm good at talking to people. For some reason, people like me and trust me. I don't know why, but I want to be able to. I've grown being able to be in situations where around other people, and I've been able to grow and do that. And I think that on the floor, even though they probably hate my voice, I talk all the time. I'm always talking, uh, but I know that it will benefit everybody to see how I handle customers, right? And so, and it goes back to just that pulling my my nephew taught me a long time ago. He was 13 or 14 years old. We're walking through the grocery store parking lot. There's a basket there. He goes, Uncle Brian, do you push the basket and put it in the deal, or you just let it go? And I said, well, you push the basket. And this is the way I want to lead, right? I want to push that basket and put it in the right spot because it doesn't cost me anything to do it. And it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep. Love it. Cool. Well, we'll wrap up there. Thank you so much, Brian. It's been a pleasure. Been a lot of fun.
You bet.
So thanks for hopping on with us.
All right, guys. We'll talk to y'all.
All right. We will wrap it up there. We'll see everybody next week.
All right.
Bye, everybody.